You're listening to the Super Sports Flash podcast.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome in to the Super Sports Flash podcast. We're so happy that you could join us here. I'm Matt Nash.
I'm Tyler Shibish.
And I'm Joe Will.
We have a great show for you today, as always. Well, boys, should we start off with Alabama football?
I would love to.
I think it's only fair.
I'm so happy that we can finally say that.
Since we have our first home game this weekend.
Yeah.
It's back. Ladies and gentlemen, college football is back in Tuscaloosa once again, and I couldn't be happier.
Yeah, honestly, it was exciting to, watch the game, and I was kind of like, it wasn't as high scoring as I thought, honestly. I thought we were going to blow them out more, but it kind of seems like after we went up like 38-6 or whatever it was, we just kind of stopped trying. But yeah, I'm just excited to have Alabama football back, and we all knew that Mizzou didn't really stand a chance. Feel bad for their coach for his first game as a Mizzou head coach. And
yeah,
first game we got Alabama.
That game was just Saban used it to knock off the rust and get those young guys experience that they didn't get, from all the spring practices and stuff.
Bryce Young got to play like an entire quarter too.
Yeah, that was ridiculous.
I think he did pretty well.
I thought he looked really good. People are going to cite the fact that his completion numbers weren't great and he had a fumble. The offensive line was not doing him any favors.
Yeah,
they weren't doing him any favors. They weren't doing Trey Sanders any favors.
Yeah, I also feel bad for Trey because it's his first game. I mean, this is his second year here and he missed all of last year.
It's all right. Let's take it from the top. Let's just go. Game started. What did you notice? What did you see from the game? What did you like from the Alabama starting guys?
I think you already know what I'm going to say.
Yeah.
Offensively, Mac Jones, I don't think it's fair to call him a game manager because I think he showed that he has that potential to be like the guy for them this year.
Yeah.
And I still stand by my statement. I think I made it last podcast that I think he has the potential to run that offense better than Tua ran it.
I still disagree with that, but you are entitled to your own opinion.
For me, I think the biggest thing was, one, Mac Jones did look really good, and after the first drive, he looked amazing. The defense, oh my God, having Dylan Moses back was so good.
It looked so good.
Got that thumper back in the middle.
Markedly, It was the thing that impressed me most out of all the players. I mean, Will Anderson looked really good, freshman, but Christian Harris looked like a beast when he had a guy that actually knew the defense by him.
Yeah, because it takes all the pressure off of him.
Yeah,
and he can just,
when he was able to just
out.
fly around and make plays and stuff. I think him or Dylan Moses had like 4 drives in a row where on like 3rd or 4th down they made the drive-ending play.
Absolutely. Yeah. And one guy that also really impressed me was Job. I can't remember Josh Job. He looked so good because if there was ever a throw, he was painted on the dude. Sure, he's not guarding their
white
best.
on rice.
He's obviously, not guarding their best guy because that is Surtain's job.
Yeah, but if you have Surtain, who's going to be probably a top 5, top 10 pick, locking the best receiver down, and then you have a guy like Job
who's
your second corner, that's a pretty dynamic duo right there.
Yeah, it looked spectacular. It looked really good. Job just was like you said, like white on rice. He was painted on the dude. Like the guy couldn't get open. He was just always in the way. It was beautiful to watch.
Najee also, looked incredible,
yeah,
but we all expected that coming into the season.
Jalen Waddle and Devontae Smith are elite.
Yeah.
We already knew that, but they looked more like it should further that thought in our heads after this week.
We knew they were elite, but how about the play from wide receiver 3, John Mechie?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I think he stood out almost even more than Waddle,
because we knew
they were going to be electric.
I knew Waddle was going to have a big year. I think everybody else did, and then we knew. Devontae Smith's been here for a while, so we already know what he is. We didn't. The question mark was Mechie, and I think Mechie had a really solid game. I can't remember the stat line off the top of my head, but I think he might have been close to 100 yards. I don't know.
Maybe.
Okay.
I could be wrong, but he had a great game nonetheless.
So then I have to ask as well, we can't be just positive about Alabama stuff. Obviously, there's always stuff to improve. So what do you guys think were some things that were disappointing or needed a little bit of work on?
We have to care from start to end. I don't care if we're winning by 40.
Games.
We have to care from start to end because that develops its own problems.
Yeah.
And then that opens up the door for comebacks with some of these more volatile teams. Say we are playing like an Auburn or a Georgia.
Yeah.
We get up by 20, we take off the gas. they come gunning for our throats. Like,
yeah, I'm not losing sleep about that now, but that's something that if you don't take care of early on in the season when you're playing, Missouri, it could rear its ugly head later on in the season when you're going to be playing your Clemsons, your Ohio States, those playoff teams as you're competing for, or you're trying to compete for a championship.
Yeah. To me, I think the big thing was offensive line, and not just the backup offensive line, the starting offensive line as well. Like for the first couple of drives, they looked really good,
but they stopped caring
as they went on.
Do you think that's conditioning?
It might be a little bit of that.
But you could tell that Mac, when he was in there, was getting hit more and more as the game went on.
Which, even though he likes getting hit, I don't think that's not something he wants to have happen every play and then every other play.
Tight end play as well. I did not notice Miller Forrestall do anything. I think he had one good block, but
he had a good
was
catch.
literally non-existent pretty much.
He had one good
to be fair, I think they played, maybe 5 tight ends. Like they were rotating guys.
Yeah.
Forrestall, Jaleel Billingsley, I think, is a tight end.
Carl Tucker played 3 snaps.
So they had a lot of guys getting snaps. So, they're still trying to figure out who their tight end's going to be. Or I guess they could just continue doing that throughout the season, getting rotating guys in there.
And Mizzou had arguably the best linebacker in the SEC. So and I forget his name, Nick Bolton. So obviously he's probably covering tight ends.
Yeah,
so. He had a really good game. I know Missouri maybe as a whole didn't play all that well, which I thought they actually played better than my initial thoughts were going to be going into the game. But man, Nick Bolton. He's up there. I don't know if he's the best linebacker in the country, but I think there's an argument to be made for him, maybe top 3 linebackers.
Yeah. I think defensively they played better. I think offensively their 2 scores were after we had already pulled all our starters. Their 2 non-field goal scores, and one of them was literally as time expired.
Which is kind of frustrating, and I know a lot of people were upset about that. No, not for betting, just because Alabama fans were kind of overreacting to that.
Yeah.
It was kind of crawled under their skin a little bit, even though it was a meaningless touchdown.
Yeah, it was. It didn't mean much. The Mizzou running back, he's a veteran guy, but he looked pretty good.
Roundtree,
I think so. He was. I can't remember what his name was, what his number was, but I remember he impressed me when I was watching the game because he would just get 4 or 5 yards every carry. It was impressive.
Yeah. And also
Larry Roundtree the third. Sorry for
No, you're fine. I was just gonna say, if you totally don't have a gambling problem like our friend Joe here, then it must be frustrating having them score. And then didn't that mess up the line?
I don't bet on lines. I just bet on outcomes.
Okay.
When I do bet. I'm not that invested into it.
Well, yeah, because that could be super frustrating.
Yeah.
Now, one thing that I did notice that I want to say before we move on, I am glad that we have a guy like Matt, because no matter what your opinion on him is, whether or not you think he is a glorified game manager or you think that he can run this offense really freaking well, in Joe's case, better than Tua, I feel like Bryce Young is not yet ready for the start. That's one thing that I was able to take away from this game, was because he looked good. He made great throws. His velocity was incredible, and he put the tightest spiral I've ever seen on the ball. But he made some risky decisions, and he allowed himself to get hit, and his pocket presence isn't quite there yet. And you could all attribute this to a lack of spring training, but still, I feel like, it is good that we have Mac for this 1 year.
I think that it's kind of refreshing to see him having those freshman struggles, because we put him on this pedestal. He was going to come in here and people were hyping him up. He has all those accolades at Modern Day when he played there in high school. And I think it's refreshing to see him, make the freshman mistakes that, all the other freshmen throughout the country make, and learn from. And
that way we can get them ironed out.
Yeah, I think that kind of silences the people that were saying, "Oh, we should be playing Bryce Young, over Mac Jones," because Mac Jones played well, and Bryce Young had those growing pains. But both those things are good because, that's how it should be.
Yeah, I'll definitely say I was a proponent of when he announced he was coming here. Before everything shut down, I was a proponent of he would be the day one starter.
Yeah, I remember that. We went back and forth on that.
Having any sort of practice before, more than a couple of weeks before the season starts, missing 3 whole months of practice is pretty big. And now, after everything shut down, I 100% understood why Mac was going to be the starter. And I still think Bryce will be the more talented quarterback when he grows into his own. But he will have those growing pains without, But it is good that he's here and that we're able to play well enough against some of the more quote unquote bad teams to get him play time early.
Exactly. And that's going to be such a big thing because I believe that was a big part of Tua's developmental process as well, was having Jalen in the running game go up so much against these teams and just have like Tua play the entire second half.
And I would much rather see these guys, these freshmen, these young players who are inexperienced, I would much rather them see playing time against these conference games compared to
against like the ACC,
against the cupcake teams. Like, I would rather them struggle against like solid or decent conference teams than run up the stat sheet against the
Citadel. Like when Tua was impressing, but it was against like Louisiana Tech.
Yeah, because I think they're
good against Vandy.
I think the players themselves grow more when iron sharpens iron. If you're playing SEC competition, even if it's bad competition, it's still better than FCS teams.
Exactly, and again, I think this is a kind of a blessing year for these guys as a whole.
Yeah. So speaking of SEC competition, I think we should touch on some of the other SEC teams because, we're not just an Alabama podcast.
We're not biased. Wink, wink.
Wink.
Well, I mean.
So Auburn's playing Georgia this week. Auburn was number 8 or did they bump up to 6?
I think they're 6 now.
6 versus 4, which is, expected to be a heavyweight game. I don't
7
understand
versus
why.
4.
Okay, 7. We split the difference.
Yeah.
I don't understand why Auburn was that highly rated to begin with. They didn't impress me super hard.
Yeah, Bo Nix statistically played well, but he's still struggling with accuracy issues that he had plenty of problems with last year.
I love watching that,
and so do I.
Yeah,
and then a lot of his like chunk stat plays came from just throwing 50-50 balls to wide receiver Seth Williams.
Seth Williams is ridiculous.
Yeah, Seth Williams is really good, but I don't know. Their secondary played well against a Kentucky team who can't really throw the ball at all, but their defensive line is banged up. They lost Marlon Davidson and Derek Brown to the draft last year.
Those are big losses.
Bryant was hurt too.
Yeah, so I'm not terribly high on them. I talked about it, or I tweeted about it earlier. I think that Georgia, if I'm giving a prediction on this game, is going to win by 10. I said 34-24.
Okay.
I think Georgia's going to win by like 20 because, obviously they look like they struggled a little bit against Arkansas.
Yeah.
But, their third string guy was terrible. And their, walk-on quarterback was able to lead the team in, a dominating second half
20 for 27 with over 200 yards and 2 TDs.
If you can do that with a walk-on guy that's not even better than your third stringer.
Yeah. And they get JT Daniels back.
That's what I'm saying. It's going to be JT Daniels.
And he's
going to go out there.
He's a beast.
I didn't even realize that Daniels had got hurt. I don't know if that was reported or something, but I remember hearing that Daniels wasn't starting, and I was like, did he just not beat out their walk-on?
Yeah. Well, it took him a while, I think a little bit to get eligibility granted, and then he had a minor injury.
At halftime was the thing that we're like, please God.
They're like, how's the eligibility?
Is it clearing yet? Or
get him in there. Clear helmet on, son.
It was cleared to play was the official terminology.
Yeah.
But still, it took him a while, and eventually he did get cleared to play. I think for this upcoming week, right?
Yeah, he's playing. He's starting.
It's that Georgia's gonna run Auburn out.
Yeah.
They're gonna run Auburn out of the building.
So I have to admit, I was wrong. I thought Kentucky had a shot against Auburn. And me, much like the commenters of the game, I don't know if you guys watched the game and were listening to the commenters.
I was frustrated.
Throughout the course of the game, they started and they were like, Terry Wilson Jr., what a beast. He's so good. To the end of the game, they're like, Terry Wilson Jr., he has so much potential to be good.
you know what it was?
Contract.
Do you know why he struggled?
Why?
He cut his hair. He wasn't rocking those sweet dreads anymore. He had a buzz cut.
Yeah. Well, I just remember I was disappointed in Kentucky because last year they did good with a wide receiver running quarterback. And, they were pretty good.
Yeah.
Lynn Bowden, 3rd-round pick, Lynn Bowden. He's on the Dolphins now. I don't know if you saw that.
Yeah, I know he was drafted by the Raiders.
Yeah, and then he got traded. I don't know. Like I said, though, Kentucky didn't impress, but Auburn didn't really impress either. It just seemed like they were
I wasn't all that
better.
impressed with any SEC teams this weekend. I thought they all had their issues knocking off.
Mississippi State impressed me the most. But,
But
which I called that upset on our last podcast.
Yeah, you did. That's good credit there.
One of my very small wins,
But I don't think
often.
People are ranking Mississippi State in their top 10 already.
Yeah,
which is just ridiculous.
I don't understand that either.
They beat an Auburn team that I don't think was top 10. They just were top 10.
Or LSU.
Excuse me.
Yeah,
LSU.
Without Derek Stingley.
Yeah, that were missing their best player. they were only top 10 because they won the national championship last year, because it would be an insult to not rank them,
Yeah,
top
I don't.
10. But they proved that they weren't a top 10 team, and Mississippi State beat them. An air raid team beat them when they were missing all of their best. Yeah, they were missing all of their best defensive backs. So I don't understand how people can realistically say that Mississippi State is like a top 10 team already.
I don't think they're top 10, but I am excited. I don't care.
Yeah,
I don't know how good they actually are.
To watch.
I'm so excited to watch this guy throw for 600 yards every game.
I think that win was more about, LSU being worse than we thought. Well,
Yeah.
I say we because all three of us know, we don't expect a lot from LSU, but the media expects a lot from them as returning champions. So I thought the loss was more, showing that they're not as good as we thought they were.
Yeah.
I love it.
I will say the elite LSU defensive line held Mississippi State to like 23
Yeah,
rushing
I saw
yards or
that.
something
It was
like
because
that.
they threw the ball 60
They
times.
had like 600 something passing yards.
Yeah, and
One
6
thing
touchdowns.
watching the game that was interesting to me is the way the play calling for Mike Leach. It wasn't like they were getting, he was watching the game. The way the receivers were running the routes, the way the routes were spread out, allowed them to have like a lot of yards after catch, a lot of those chunk yards. Like the defense was giving them a cushion for like the whole game. I don't know why, and that's why it was so easy, because Costello would just dump it off, to the flat for 5 yards, but the receiver would run it for 30 yards.
It was like watching the Saints against the Packers. I
Yeah.
mean, the Saints ultimately lost, but Alvin Kamara would get like these little like 1 yard passes that he'd take for like 30 yards.
one
every
of
time.
which he took 60 yards to the house.
Yeah.
Fantasy football saved my tail.
But yeah, I
wish I
agree.
could
And I
say the
think
same.
that, maybe LSU was just socially distancing. A lot of their players had COVID, so they just want to be safe. Their quarterbacks aren't
Look
playing
at
up.
you with the
I
jokes.
don't think Ed Orgeron would ever allow that as long as he's still breathing.
Yeah,
I mean,
I'm about
Ed
that.
Orgeron was proud about all his players getting sick. So, I mean, who
Well,
knows?
no, he was proud that only 70% got sick.
Oh, yeah.
It was
Only
only
70.
70%.
So, some other teams that played this last week. Florida, what do you think about them? They're the other SEC school.
I
Yeah.
think
Supposed to be
there's.
good.
I think the hype for them is, the same with Mississippi State. I think they're getting overhyped because, they have the Kyle connection.
Like, yeah, Kyle
connection.
They're gonna
Kyle
go punch
Trask,
some walls
yeah.
afterwards.
Kyle
Yeah.
Trask, and Kyle
Big
Pitts.
monster.
Kyle Pitts had 4 touchdowns, I think.
Yeah, which
And
is insane.
Those two played well. Their offense played well, but defensively, they gave up way too many yards, way
mean,
too many points.
But it's also a Lane Kiffin offense.
Yeah, but
It's also Ole Miss.
yeah,
As
and they don't have anybody. Like their quarterback's good.
They always have receivers.
They don't have any this year, really.
Do they not?
Not that I can name off the top of my head. I mean, it's early on this season. We see, stars emerge every year from absolutely nowhere. But I don't know. The quarterback play, Rouse Plumlee and I think Matt Corral is the quarterback for them.
Yeah,
Those guys
Matt
looked
Corral.
good, but there's no reason for them to give up that many yards to Ole Miss.
I mean,
Yeah.
on the one hand, that's fair, but on the other hand, I have a healthy respect for Lane Kiffin making use of whatever he can. Where it's kind of like he's kind of the handyman, where he's like,
Yeah.
screw it, we'll use duct tape and fix it, and we'll go through
If-
for 400.
Yeah, if you're talking about Lane Kiffin, if you think within the coming years he's going to be a really good coach and Ole Miss is going to become a good team, to me it's kind of similar to like Nate Oates last year, where it's like he didn't have his guys, he's working with what he
Yeah.
got. He's
Yeah.
a good coach, but you can only do so much with what you have, and so ultimately it might be a little disappointing for them for the next 2 or 3 years or so until he like finally gets to rein it in. The only problem with that though is a lot of times in football, like 2 or 3 years, they don't like to give you 2 or 3
Yeah,
years.
it's not like the NFL.
So
I think Joe Moorhead was before Leach came in there. Moorhead was there for like 2 years before they gave him the boot. So
yeah, at Mississippi State.
I will say that it's exciting. I feel like with Leach and Kiffin in the SEC and in the same state, not only is it entertaining, but it makes the quality of football better as a whole.
Yes.
in the SEC.
Oh, here we go. All of the yards essentially were to Elijah Moore, who had 227 receiving yards on 10 receptions.
That's nice.
I mean, that's pretty impressive.
That is pretty impressive.
Maybe
for Ole
he'll
Miss.
become a
Yeah.
household name. I just don't know his name yet. Well, now I do.
One,
Actually.
Exactly.
One other team that I really do want to bring up too was Texas A&M. I was extremely disappointed by Texas A&M. I was all week. I was like, I got So I did actually get the tickets to I did actually get a ticket to the A&M game this week.
Oh, you're going?
I'm going. Yeah, I will be there at Alabama's home opener.
I forgot to opt in, so
yeah. So
I'm
I
to be there.
I opted in. I got a ticket. I was super excited. I was like, A&M had a top 10 recruiting class. They have Kellen Mond. They have all this.
Yep.
Stop.
They were
The
up
amount of
7-5.
I've hyped up Kellen Mond, and
I'm
people have
starting to
just
learn.
laughed in my face. I've completely given up on it.
I
now.
like Kellen Mond. I think he's a good guy.
I like him too, but he just hasn't lived up to the hype.
Yeah.
I mean, he had a really good freshman year, and then he just plateaued and went downhill since then.
They ended up beating Vanderbilt 17-12. Kellen Mond had 189 yards and a touchdown.
Yeah, but how much of that goes back to what we were talking about earlier, where a lot of the SEC elites, quote unquote elites, didn't really play well this weekend, and a lot of all these teams are knocking off the rust.
Yeah, it could be a little bit of that. I mean, the running game. I'd say the running game looked good, but it didn't really look good.
Right? Isaiah
Spiller had 8
Isaiah
carries, so it's like 8 carries for 117 yards. That's one 90-yard carry and a bunch of 2-yard carries.
Yeah,
pretty much.
I'm worried about. Obviously, we play A&M this weekend. I'm worried about the only thing I'm worried about with our defense is can we contain the running game? Because I think the last 2 times we played A&M, Kellen Mond has had, combined a close to 200 yards rushing. And last year we bottled up Spiller, but another year under his belt. I think
the bane of Alabama defenses has always been a mobile quarterback.
Yeah, exactly.
And I was like, that's why I was like shook when we actually beat Oklahoma a couple years ago when we were able to contain Kyler Murray.
We
contain him in the regards
for the most
that
part. Yeah.
It's like containing Kobe Bryant, right?
You can only
Like,
slow him down.
Yeah, I was gonna say
Kyler Murray, Kobe Bryant.
I'm not comparing the two at all. Other than that, like
Rest in peace, Kobe.
any elite like scorer, basically, right?
Yeah.
You let them do their thing, and then you just hope the rest of the team can't beat you. It was like when we played Ja Morant or when we played Trae Young and beat both of them in basketball.
Yes.
Oklahoma and Murray State.
Ja Morant
they both had like 40.
Well, no, we actually held Trae Young to his second worst game of his college career.
Yeah.
He only had like 18 points.
Really? I thought he scored some in garbage time.
No.
But anyway, my point being, you let the rest of the team beat you when you're playing a quarterback like that.
And again, the only reason why we were able to hold Trae Young in basketball was because we had Colin Sexton just chasing him around and bullying him all game.
Yeah, one of the only good games we had under Avery Johnson.
Well, the season was good because of Colin, but because the offense was
put
giving
the team on his back, but
with a broken leg.
Yeah, we won't get into my Avery Johnson.
Let's not.
hatred.
Let's not get into that. Let's just.
Actually, before we talked a lot about football recently, right? So before we talk any more about football, I think we should talk about a little bit of miscellaneous stuff. The Tampa Bay Lightning actually won the Stanley Cup Finals.
Congratulations, Tampa
Cue
Bay.
lightning noises on the Super Sports Flash podcast.
I don't know if I can actually.
That's the best I got.
Well, we can work. We're working on that.
Yeah, we don't have the budget yet.
Sponsored? Question mark.
This is their second Stanley Cup win ever. They won 4-2 against the Dallas Stars. I don't like the Dallas Stars as a Blues fan, so cool. They won the last game 2-0. We just haven't really talked that much about hockey. None of us are really big hockey people, but
I'm a fair weather hockey fan. I only watch when the Caps are in the playoffs.
I'm aware that there is a sport called hockey.
The most fun. Hockey's a lot more fun when your team's still in it and didn't lose in the first round. Never forget.
Rip.
But cool for the Tampa Bay Lightning. I remember. I believe it was just last year. Actually, they were like the number 1 overall seed, and then they got swept in the first round by the 8th seed.
They've had. They had similar. You know how the Caps had a bunch of issues before they finally got over the hump.
Yeah,
it's kind of the same thing with the Lightning, and I was rooting for them, and I was really happy when they won because I have a decent amount of friends that are from Florida. They're Tampa Bay Lightning fans.
Mm-hmm.
And seeing them, the emotions, the raw emotions from winning, the same emotions that I had when the Caps won is pretty cool to take a step back and see that from somebody else.
Yeah, that's fair.
Hometown St. Louis boy Pat Maroon actually won back-to-back cups because he was with us last year, and then he went to the Lightning and won another one.
Where's he going next year?
Oh, I don't
Washington?
know. Hopefully back here.
Whoever he goes to, they're gonna win the Stanley Cup.
Matt needs a hockey team.
It's true.
Preds.
I mean, Nashville.
There you go.
My girlfriend will kill me if I say that I'm a Preds fan. So she's a Blackhawks fan.
Let's be a Blackhawks fan then.
Well, I'm still trying to decide. I might go with the Sharks because they sound fun.
The Sharks are cool. As a kid, fun fact, I was a Raptors and a Sharks fan because those are the 2 coolest sounding mascots.
I almost gave up on the Caps before they the year before they won the Stanley Cup, and you know who I was gonna go for?
Who?
the Golden Knights. I was like, oh, they're going to be an expansion team. I'm tired of the Capitals like losing. They can't get over the hump. And then it was just ironic that they met in the Stanley Cup. Yeah. And I was like,
my two teams.
Yikes.
Yeah. So I'm glad I stuck with the Caps, but that's a side tangent.
Yeah. So speaking of tangents, the baseball, wild card round started. 16 teams in the playoffs, actually. They're all playing best of 3 series.
It's wild.
It's weird because it's different because it was a truncated season. They added more teams, and then the first round they all play shortened series. And then they go to 5 games for the next one, or is it the full 7?
I think it's 5.
Okay. And so a couple of those already wrapped up. Right now, actually, my St. Louis Cardinals are playing the Padres, and they are up 4-0 right now.
Who won?
We won game 1.
Okay.
So we're up 1-0 in the series. Some games that have already ended, or series that have already ended, excuse me. The Braves beat the Reds in 2 games. Longest scoreless postseason game ever.
Really?
Game 1.
13 innings?
13 innings. The Braves won 1-0 with a walk-off single by Freddie Freeman. NL MVP candidate this year, actually. He's pretty good. I don't know who else you'd give it to in the National League. Maybe Mookie.
Mookie Betts.
Yeah, I think you got to give it to Freddie.
Yeah, and Jose Abreu of the White Sox actually was the other leading one.
That's pretty good too.
Speaking of the White Sox, Joe's White Sox that he predicted to win the World Series, they lost to the A's today. So they lost 2-1 in the series to the A's. The A's move on.
Elimination.
It was 6-4 today. I saw.
They were up like 4-0, weren't they?
I'm not sure. No, the A's were definitely winning at the beginning.
Are you sure?
Yes. I remember seeing earlier.
I checked.
Crazy.
You
could be completely right.
I was here doing like work, and I checked my phone, and they had a pretty firm lead. I can't remember how many runs it was off the top of my head, but I went to do work for one of my classes.
Yeah,
and
it was 3-0, and then the A's scored 4
should be good.
In the next inning and then took the lead. The Yankees beat the Indians in 2 games. I didn't really follow that one that much because I just figured the Yankees were going to win.
Yeah.
It kind of stinks for the Indians because I like the Indians. I like Jose Ramirez. He's always had good seasons and kind of gets slept on a little bit. I think that
Shane Bieber.
Yeah, Justin Bieber,
Shane
Francisco
Bieber.
Lindor.
You need to chill with that.
Chocolate Lindor and Justin Bieber.
I always feel bad for them because they should have won the pennant in 2016, I think it was. And then they blew a 3-1 lead to the Cubs.
Yikes.
First Cubs win in over 100 years. Everything had to be balanced because Cleveland came back from a 3-1 deficit in the NBA Finals that year. So Cleveland had to blow a 3-1 lead in the MLB Finals.
And sure enough, they did.
Yep. The Rays beat the Blue Jays in 2 games. The Rays are the number 1 seed in the playoffs, actually. They're really
so
good.
weird to me.
Yeah, I just don't see the Rays as being
I'm
good.
not going to lie to you. I don't think I can name a single player. Is Evan Longoria still on the Rays?
I think so. They have like Blake Snell. They have...
exactly.
They have Hunter Renfroe hit a home run.
Hunter Renfroe, not the football player.
Football player,
not from Clemson or Oakland.
Well, I don't know.
The Astros, and then the last series that is wrapped up. The Astros
so mad
beat the Twins in 2 games. The Twins are on a 18 game playoff losing streak, which is the longest in MLB history.
Which is absolutely
Good
hilarious.
thing you're not a Twins fan.
I'm just mad that the Astros won something. All I know is that I hate the Astros.
Yeah,
because they're cheaters. That's all I know.
I have a lot of family that are Twins fans, and it was sad because I remember they asked me, they're like, Tyler, what do you think about the Twins this year? You're the sports guy in the family. And I said, I think the Twins are
sports guy.
Tyler, noted sports guy.
Tyler, noted family sports guy.
I think that the Twins are the second best team in the MLB.
Yeah.
And I thought so going into the season. I thought they would lose to the Yankees in the AL championship, and then the Yankees would go on and win it all. Then they lost in the first round of the Astros. So
yeah, the 2 teams that I thought had the best chance of winning it going into the year were the Twins and the White Sox.
You had a Twins-White Sox finals?
Are they in the same? Aren't they?
No. Oh wait.
Yeah, they are. They're both. Yeah.
Okay.
No,
it's okay.
They were my 2. The 2 teams I thought were the best.
Okay. Yeah. And so anyway, some other games that are wrapping up, like the Cardinals are playing the Padres right now as we speak. They're up, like I said, 4-0 as of 7-10 Thursday, the 1st of October. Happy October, by the way.
Happy October, everybody.
Spooky season.
Yeah, I know. My girlfriend actually already decorated her apartment, so that's cool.
How? It just started.
Wow, it must be nice, the 2 of you having girlfriends and
Yeah.
I guess I'm just married to my
The sports
married to the
and the
game,
craft.
married to
Yeah.
sports.
Let's start a GoFundMe. Get Joe a girlfriend.
We
don't know how you
won't
can
get
fund
into
that.
my
I think that's-
relationship.
Matt, I think that's
issues.
illegal. I think they have laws against buying girlfriends.
Probably yes.
The
Cut that part out.
Brewers are playing the Dodgers later, the first seed in the NL Dodgers.
Brew Crew.
I know the Dodgers won last night, and so they're up 1-0 in the
Rip.
series. And I
They're
don't.
gonna win tonight too.
That's what I think as well. But crazier things have happened. The Astros beat the Twins. Like, no way
Sad.
the Twins will lose 18 in a row in the playoffs. That's crazy.
Well,
Twins gonna twin.
I'm trying to think. Is there any series that we? Oh, the Marlins are playing the Cubs as well. The
And they won
Marlins
the
won
first
game 1, 5-0.
Just seeing the Marlins in the playoffs is just weird to me.
Yeah, the last thing I remember about the Marlins was when they had D. Gordon and he hit the home run after.
They had D. Gordon. Starling Castro was
Who
on the
was-
Marlins, wasn't he?
I remember Fernando something, the pitcher that died in the boat crash, and D. Gordon was like his best friend.
Oh,
And it was
yeah, I
super
remember that.
emotional. The day after he died, like their
Yeah.
next game, he hit a
yeah,
home
I know
run.
you're talking about.
The dude
was
has
his-
like a horrible ERA
Yeah,
and just
it was his
cracked
first.
one.
It was his first home run of the season, and I remember he was just bawling, rounding the thing. That's still one of my
Yeah.
favorite. That's still my favorite baseball highlight of all time.
That
Fun
is-
fact.
That's definitely up there for me as well.
That's just that one was special. Even I know about that one, and it's just like, man,
Jose Fernandez.
Yeah.
yeah.
Anyway, so yeah,
You know
none
what
of
those
us
were? Those were professional sports. You know what we should talk about now?
more college sports.
Professional football.
Oh, okay, I like that as well.
Well,
Going with the flow.
there is a situation developing in the NFL as we speak.
Happy to be a part of it.
A COVID situation. The Titans have tested positive for COVID-19.
I think they're up to 11 players now as of today. Christian Fulton, their first round pick, just got added to the list.
Oh no,
Oh, really?
that
Yeah.
is awful.
Um,
So the Titans and Steelers game has been postponed. I don't know if it's been postponed to Monday anymore or if it has been postponed indefinitely
it's
now.
indefinitely now after like 2 more players tested positive.
Yes.
It was supposed to be Monday, and then
And what's the scoop on the Vikings? Are they still
So
like
good to go?
alive?
We-
like
They haven't had any positives last I
yeah, we
checked.
haven't. We still have had 0 positives. I believe we're allowed
And
to start-
0 wins too.
I believe we
Well.
started practicing
Well.
again today. That's also true. We have 0 wins. Hey, Trevor
Sorry, I
Lawrence
had
is
to
going to
do
look
it.
really good in purple and gold.
And shorts.
Yeah, and short.
Stop it! No.
But as of today, we had 0 positives. I believe we started practicing again today, and if we didn't today, we are tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
The thing that kind of stinks about that whole situation is that the Texans actually get an extra day to practice because they weren't stopped from practicing at all, which I think would have been the fair way to handle the situation. Because we didn't do anything wrong, right? We
Yeah.
just played against a team that broke rules and got positive cases. But we had to sacrifice days of practicing while the other team that were playing had
Did
more.
they break rules?
Nashville has been a hot spot apparently for lots of COVID cases, and so.
But did
one
they
of the
have?
teams-
I don't think they had any like knowingly had.
That's true.
players.
It's unfair for me to say they broke rules. Actually, I don't know if
It's
you saw
just-
the
yeah.
Vegas Raiders though. Darren Waller, just yesterday, hosted a charity event, and a whole bunch of pictures surfaced of all these Raiders players taking pictures with fans without wearing masks or anything.
Uh-oh. Raiders
And
about to get
so
got.
I think that they might get in trouble from the league from that. And it was like notable people. It was Darren Waller. It was Derek Carr.
Yeah.
I mean, here's the thing.
Well,
If-
John Gruden doesn't even wear his mask
If
correctly.
head coaches are going to get fined like $250,000 for not wearing their masks and you have like a roster of players, that franchise, like the Raiders might get fined like $1 million here.
More so than fined, people are saying that they should make an example out of those players because if you don't
don't
do that,
suspend those players.
Well,
if you
that
don't
would
do
make
that,
that,
I'm fine
that
with
make an
with
example.
finding them insane amounts
Well-
of money. I say fine. I'm still,
but
levying.
it's,
annoys
if
me,
you look at
but-
the NBA, that's how they dealt with people breaking
Yeah.
the bubble, and those people, only 2 people in the whole time
But
broke the
there's
bubble.
no bubble for the NFL though, so those guys are kind of
there's
quote
team
unquote
rules.
free to do what they want within reason.
They
This-
were breaking
yeah.
team and state rules actually by doing that.
Ooh.
They had more people than they were supposed to have in the building. They weren't wearing masks. They weren't staying apart, which is team and state rules as of right now in Nevada.
So basically, if Nevada wanted, they could like sanction them with like legal trouble for this, right?
Yeah, theoretically. They're not going to
I'm
because
obviously not going to.
yeah,
professional
that would be a
athletes
bad
whatnot.
move for them, especially since the Raiders are just becoming the team in Las Vegas
But-
and punishing your team.
Anyway, my point was more those players, if you allow them to play right. So say theoretically you allow them to play and then they test positive again. And then the team that they're playing against, I don't remember who the Raiders are playing next. It's the Bills. what if the Bills get then, sick because the Raiders broke the rules and everyone knew about it? Do you think that's fair to the Bills that hadn't done anything? Kind of like with the Titans and us, where we can't practice, we might have to postpone a game theoretically. They're not going to, but because the Titans got sick and then played us without.
Yeah, that's a good point. I would just test
the
I would
Raiders
test
like
the
crazy.
shit out of the Raiders.
I agree. I don't think you should.
Like an insane. Like they test them a lot already. I would test them tenfold, like even more than they do. That's how I would handle it, and I would fine them. I would not suspend players.
Okay. That's fair. Yeah, I don't think necessarily you need to make an example out of them, but I do think you need to make an example out of them by suspending them. But you do have
need to make some. You need to do it like there will be a heavy penalty.
Yeah.
If you do this,
I think another question that comes from that, is the fantasy football wise. How is that going to work? Because
they literally just say it's a bye week. They just give them another bye week.
They gave them 0 points, I believe, on the ESPN app this week,
which is kind of rough if you're. It's fantasy football, so
yeah,
really
if you
doesn't
have James
matter
Conner or something
in the long
like
run. But James Conner, they're
Juju.
It's like an arbitrary bye
Derrick
week.
Henry?
That's all it is.
I mean,
Henry.
yeah, a lot of big name guys.
The Steelers and Titans defenses are both typically very good for you.
Yeah.
Like,
well, I have the Steelers defense, and I have James Conner in one league, and I have the Steelers kicker, and
Chris Boswell, right?
Yeah. But what would have been weird was I know they were talking about playing the game on a Tuesday, and I was really intrigued at how that would affect fantasy because the
they
week
just said
ends
it would
on a Monday.
It would affect the previous week. Would be like it would affect the week that they were supposed to play.
Yeah,
in.
because
That's
don't the weeks normally not officially wrap up till Wednesday anyway in fantasy?
So yeah, like that's when a lot of
waiver wire.
A lot of the waivers.
Yeah.
Well, waivers will clear on Tuesday if you filed before the first games, and then if you filed during the games, I think they clear on Wednesday. Is what it is.
Yeah.
So
anyway,
moving on.
Tonight is Thursday night. We have a
Thursday night football.
really good Thursday night football game this week. It's the 0-3 Jets with the facing the 0-3 Broncos. Who are on their third string quarterback now, Brett Ripien.
Yep. Something like that.
Who I had never heard of before this last week, which is telling you something because I generally know most players in the NFL.
Yep. And now he's starting for the Broncos, not because Driscoll got injured, but because Driscoll sucks at football.
Which is weird because Driscoll actually was pretty good for pretty good for a backup quarterback for the Lions last year, I thought.
Hey, he got the job done.
He was okay
enough, but
in
apparently
college at Florida
he was
too.
just terrible for us.
Yeah.
You think just Bortles hasn't? It's too short of a.
They literally said
Bortles.
Bortles isn't ready yet to play. So like, once he's ready to play, please, for the love of God, start Blake Bortles.
I think when he comes back, he's gonna play.
He's
better
gonna
than people expect.
He's gonna look good because now he actually has like people around him.
He's got weapons.
He's got people around him. He's got good running game or decent enough running game, I should say.
Yeah.
And like all this, that, and the third.
Yeah, I hope that running game does pretty well. Not to go back to fantasy, but I got Melvin Gordon tonight, and so I'm hoping he
I
has a solid game.
I traded Melvin Gordon already. I gave up on him. I folded on Melvin Gordon.
Too soon.
But let me tell you this though, no matter what happens tonight, it's a win-win for the Denver Broncos. You ready for this? Either we win the game and we get a win. It's like, hey, it's a win.
That's definitely a win.
That
That's
is, in fact,
usually,
a win. A win is a win.
For the Broncos.
Or we lose to the Jets, and there is no way in heaven, hell, or earth that you cannot fire Vic Fangio if he loses to the Jets. There's no way you can't fire him.
Yeah, but if you lose to the Jets, then the Jets, do they have to keep Adam Gase? There's
I don't
some
care
coaching
about
stuff going
I don't
on
care
here
about
tonight.
the Jets.
This
So-
is an entertaining game. I'm
Yeah.
telling you, man.
The
I like
initial-
watching bad football.
The initial report about the Jets was that if they lose, they're going to fire Adam Gase. The more refined report that I saw recently was that win or lose, they're probably going to fire him after this game. Unless they look amazing for some reason. But again, they would look amazing against an 0-3
He shouldn't
team.
even show up.
I mean, but here's the thing, though. The Broncos are 0-3 because of their offense. Their defense looks decent. They've got they've got good run stopping. Their corners they're young, but they're good. The safeties are spectacular. And we still have Bradley Chubb to pass rush, so we have one pass rusher.
Yeah. I don't know, man. And I just don't think that they're going to fire Vic Fangio, even if you guys lose. I think he probably gets at least till halfway through the season, if not the end.
Please, God, fire Vic Fangio.
He gets the COVID excuse.
He gets the COVID excuse, and he also gets the on his third string quarterback excuse.
Here's the deal with Vic Fangio. We have lost 4 games when we were winning with 30 seconds left in the game. 4 in the last 2 seasons.
That's a lot.
It's a lot of games because most of the time you don't hear about that happening once to a team in 10 seasons.
I don't know about that.
Like, it doesn't happen. Like, you don't lose that many games up close. That's just bad. That means that at that point, someone else is the problem. It's not the players.
Yeah, I didn't really get the Vic Fangio hiring when it happened. He's a defensive-minded coach, which is cool and all, but just the way the NFL has trended, unless you're Bill Belichick or you're Pete Carroll, you can't be a defensive-minded head coach and be like an elite head coach.
Yeah, that's definitely a thing in the past.
Like, because if you look at all the coaches that are good right now, right? You get Shanahan.
They're all young.
Minus Andy Reid. Andy Reid is old, but also really good.
He's young and hard.
But also Andy Reid wasn't considered an elite coach until like 2 years ago, when they, were like the best.
Which is crazy because he had a lot of success with the Eagles. Didn't he lead them to a couple NFC championships?
His problem was his reputation was always that of like someone who just couldn't get them over the edge.
Yeah, I couldn't get over that.
But now that he's won, that rhetoric has
crazy
changed.
how much stuff changes. Just with the championship.
And so, but if you look at all the good coaches, right? You got Andy Reid, you got Kyle Shanahan,
Yep.
You got Matt LaFleur,
Sean McVay.
Sean
McVay.
Yeah. Sean McVay, Kyle Shanahan, Matt LaFleur. I seem to remember them all being on the Washington football team staff at one point.
Wow, it's almost like you guys don't know how to hold on to talent.
Yeah, we don't. I'm sorry, I had to bring that up. It's just amazes me when I think about it. All three of those guys had a little bit of success when they were here, left town, and
wow,
now
look
they're
what they're doing
flourishing.
now. Exactly, and like obviously, guys that weren't on Pete Carroll, he's a good head coach. I like him as a head coach.
Yeah.
He's one of the few defensive-minded guys in the league that's actually good.
Well, I was trying to do more thought into like other defensive coaches that I would take. Mike Tomlin, I think, is good.
Mike Tomlin, great coach. Love Mike Tomlin.
I also think that John Harbaugh is good.
Is he defensive-minded?
I don't know.
I feel like he's more balanced because
Their Ravens defense is very good.
They always
we
have
saw
good
the Ravens
defense.
offense, so he's not offensively minded.
Well, I mean, last year the Ravens offense was, the subject of debate.
The crazy thing, the Ravens offense wasn't great this last week. They played the Chiefs, who this year the Chiefs defense looks like a top 5 defense, and
I don't know about that.
They looked really good.
The Chiefs defense looks like way better than they should. Honestly.
Yeah. Well, I don't even know if it's way better than they should. It's just, to me, like, I always thought of the Chiefs, like, since they got Mahomes, they were like
all
team
offense.
that is all offense.
Yeah.
And they can beat teams. But now their defense looks solid enough.
I think
I think they added some pieces.
They added some like minor pieces, but it's their defensive coordinator. He's coming into his own. I don't know if you're
Spagnuolo.
I don't know if you're like if you've watched their games, but like in the playoffs, his defensive coaching was immaculate.
Yeah, it was.
And
he
also,
is spectacular.
Eric Bieniemy
Yep.
is
he's
in line for a head coaching job after
Where do
this year.
you see him going?
Actually,
I hope he doesn't have to go to the Jets or something.
Yeah, I don't see it happening, but a lot of fans of the Vikings were hoping that we pick him up after this year, which doesn't make any sense. But
you'd be lucky to pick him up.
I
just don't think.
I don't either. But realistic spots for him, obviously the Jets could be one. You said you hope he doesn't go to the Jets, but is the Jets the problem or is it Adam Gase?
That is a good question because
it's Adam Gase and injuries, I think.
Yeah, so him being the coach of the Jets wouldn't be. I don't know. I'm trying to think of other teams that I can see firing.
I have a question about the Jets. So a lot of people think, have already given up on Sam Darnold and are just assuming the Jets are going to draft Trevor Lawrence. Do you guys think that's the case?
I mean, if they get the number 1 pick, they're drafting Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah,
that's just a fact. But if they don't get the number 1 pick and Trevor Lawrence isn't on the board, they're going to stick with Sam Darnold and just say, "Oh, we love the guy. He's great."
Yeah,
freed from the shackles of Gase.
Yeah, I do think that Sam Darnold, to me, I can't give up on him. I mean, he's been in the NFL for
4 years. I think it's 3 years now.
Yeah,
because he was with Baker and Josh Rosen.
I guess. Well, if Bieniemy goes to the Jets and you have Sam Darnold, that would really really get to see.
It's like I'm completely blanking on it. A Cliff Kingsbury situation.
Well, we didn't talk about Cliff Kingsbury.
Cliff Kingsbury
earlier.
is another really good offensive coach who's coming into his own.
Oh yeah,
and
he looks good.
It's kind of like that where he got his quarterback when he went there, even though they had just drafted one before, and it worked for him. I think that if you're the Jets, Sam Darnold, right, has potential to be your quarterback of the future if you have any pick but the number 1 pick. But if you have the number 1 pick, you take Trevor Lawrence and build around him.
Yeah,
I think Lawrence is
or Justin Fields. I guess take your poison.
I definitely think Lawrence is like a tier above Justin Fields right now.
Well, I mean, even if they have like maybe not necessarily the number one.
Oh
pick,
yeah,
but top,
Justin Fields to me, Lawrence is like in his own tier. He's like the best quarterback prospect since Andrew Luck, and you saw how good Andrew Luck was. If he didn't retire at 30, he potential to be a Hall of Fame quarterback.
Yeah,
so.
well, I'm not really sure how the quarterback situation will go for the draft, because I was looking at mock draft today. A lot of the teams that are projected to be some of the worst in the league already have their quote unquote guy. With the Giants,
Daniel Jones,
Danny Dimes,
and the Broncos got Drew Lock.
Yeah,
and the Redskins or Washington football team have Dwayne Haskins.
That's not your quarterback of the future, my friend.
The Giants are actually one that I don't agree with. When a lot of people are saying if the Giants get the number one pick, they would pick Trevor Lawrence. That one I'm not so sure. I think so. Danny Dimes has shown more than Sam Darnold has.
He has. Daniel Jones is good. He's better than Sam Darnold.
Yeah, and so that one, everyone there said it's a no-brainer they'd pick Lawrence.
I don't know. If you're the Jags,
you stick with Gardner Minshew no matter what.
I don't think he's terrible.
That's America's quarterback right there.
It depends on this year, right? If he continues to play well, then they build around him. But if he drops off, then I think you pick Lawrence.
But, it doesn't. I guess it really doesn't matter who you have at quarterback. If you're sitting there at 1 and Trevor Lawrence is there, it's so hard to pass up, to justify passing up on him.
Trevor Lawrence has the potential to be a top guy. His ceiling is conversation with Tom Brady and Peyton Manning and Joe Montana.
Yeah, let's say the Broncos, who already have Drew Lock, they have the number one pick, and Drew Lock doesn't end up panning out, and Trevor Lawrence ends up being amazing.
I don't know.
We're not going to be able
such a risk.
So they're not going to be able to tell if Drew Lock has panned out or not this season.
Well, I mean, it's going to. No, I mean, over time.
I think Lock
looking back on it.
Looking back.
But everything's a gamble.
I think Lock has enough potential right now that if the Broncos somehow have the number one pick, they'd probably pick like Penny Sewell or someone like that. Just bolster the O line.
Oh, if you make that O line as good as it can be, our receivers are good, our defense is good, our running backs are good.
You'll get Von Miller back. You've got.
I think that the Broncos just a couple get Drew Lock some years under his belt, get Melvin Gordon acclimated to the offense.
Yeah,
it could end up being a deadly team. I don't know if we're going to compete with the Chiefs, but I think we'll be a deadly.
I think, like you said, you're just missing a couple pieces.
We're missing a couple pieces in some years.
Offensive line, you still have Garrett Bowles.
Yeah,
he's been a holding machine. Is his problem? He's not a.
He's always been like that. Yeah, though. And then I can't think of any other.
There's it's just a good unit on the O line. We protect it well enough unless we go up against elite pass rush.
You're in a solid place right now. You've got a lot of pieces in place.
Oh, Dalton Reisner, Lloyd Cushenberry this year.
Yeah, so you've got some young guys. I would feel good as a Broncos fan about where I'm at.
I do.
Obviously, you're not at
in
the top. In
fact, I feel so good about being a Broncos fan.
You're ordering a Drew Lock jersey?
I bought an Andrew Lock jersey.
Andrew Luck?
I said Andrew Luck. A Drew Lock jersey.
Yeah, I bet you could get an Andrew Luck jersey for a discounted price.
I said Andrew Luck, and that's how confused I was. I bought a Drew Lock jersey.
Nice. I'm proud of you.
It's coming in.
We bullied him into buying it.
Did you take the AliExpress route, or did you go official?
I went official.
I like that.
I went official.
So we don't have too much time left, so I think we should spend a little bit last time we have. I just had a stroke trying to say that. Would you look at the
10
time?
Minutes or so?
No, the last 10 minutes or so. I think we should talk about the NBA.
The
finals.
NBA finals.
I know Matt would probably die inside if we didn't at least talk about.
Matt
the NBA
could go an hour talking about the Lakers,
especially the Lakers. And so, Matt, take us away.
Well, the first game started off well. I'm gonna say that. I mean, obviously, I hate that guys went down and got injured.
Yeah.
That is awful. Say that from the top. Injuries are the worst thing.
Competition aside,
I wanted the Warriors to lose to the Raptors, and I was distraught when KD went down, and I was distraught when Clay went down because it just doesn't feel right. Not having those guys in the game because, for reference, the Heat had 2 major injuries and a third guy potentially get injured. Bam Adebayo strained his neck.
Can you say that one more time? Adebayo.
Bam Adebayo.
Sorry, I just sounds cool. Continue.
He
you said it right. I was just
I was like, what did I say wrong? But he strained his neck during the game. Goran Dragic tore what was
the plantar fascia?
Yeah, he tore his plantar fascia in his left foot, which I mean, I had a friend who pulled his plantar fascia and he like couldn't move his foot. So
it's what Peyton Manning had at the end of his career, like on and off on his foot.
That's got to be one of the worst injuries.
It's awful because apparently the only reason why it takes so long to heal and is so painful because
you have to walk around, right?
You have to walk around and you don't get blood to your foot. So obviously, I hate to see that those guys are injured, but I do want to go ahead and say the Lakers were winning before they got injured.
Yeah, you said it was a good start to the game, but I think it was like Miami actually started a lot better.
Miami started really well, and then before anyone got injured, the Lakers like stormed back and had like
by halftime
18-0 run.
Yeah, it was like
at the end of the first quarter,
21-3 or something.
Yeah,
20, which is basically 18.
Yeah,
I was really unsure about the Lakers going into the playoffs. You know, I had some question marks, but I think they've really come into their own and kind of caught their stride as of late.
I didn't think the Lakers would look as good as they did last night because neither did I. Everyone was
closer.
Everyone was talking about how the Heat weren't playing defense, and that's just not true. The Heat were playing good defense, and the reason why, like at one point they came out in a 2-3 zone. Okay, that zone has confused and befuddled every other team that they've played. But against the Lakers, when you've got guys like Rondo coming off the bench, and I'm gonna catch flack for this, Alex Caruso. Alex Caruso is a high basketball IQ guy. He's a genius on the court.
He's a lunch pail, first one in, last one out, kind of high BBIQ kind of guy.
Basically saying he's a white boy that can ball.
But, here's the thing, though. I think he's discount Rondo. Because if you look at it, Rondo, very high basketball IQ, insanely smart. Alex Caruso is also really freaking smart.
He's young, too.
Caruso's like he's like 26. He's 26.
Contrary to the popular belief, because he looks
so
like he's 40,
but if you have three guys like that, like LeBron, Rondo, Caruso, they just dissected the zone. All they would do is they'd drive to the middle and kick out to a three-point shooter, and the Lakers would just shoot a wide-open three. Mm-hmm. They were like, oh, the Lakers are shooting so hot. It's because they're not covered. They're not contested. They're just hitting the open shot. And obviously, Anthony Davis made every single Heat player look like a child.
Yeah.
And so did Dwight Howard.
Yeah, I'm kind of worried about going into this series. I thought it would be close. You know, I don't know if the Heat
still will be close.
I don't know, man. Like if they have to deal with all those injuries, like that team is like a unit, you know. And if part of that unit falls apart, like the whole thing's gonna crumble. Whereas with the Lakers, it's you got two superstar players. Like Miami, it's Jimmy Butler, and then all those like supporting casts have to do their part.
Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo, Tyler Hero. And Bam and Gordon are on the same level.
Yeah, but with the Lakers,
then Tyler,
I would say
and then
like
everyone else.
AD and LeBron.
It's you can interchange which one is where.
Yeah.
Obviously, like AD or LeBron. I think LeBron is still just a little bit higher because he could choose how to beat you. With AD, it's I'm going to dominate you my way. LeBron's like, I'll just do it however I want.
LeBron or AD has a bad game,
the other one picks up for him.
Picks up the slack.
I'm in a sports journalism class right now. And we had to write a game preview. My beat ended up being men's basketball. So I wrote a game preview about this game. And exactly what I was saying is basically what happened. I said that the Heat win this if they play...
This game upcoming or the game that just happened?
The game that just happened. Sorry.
Okay.
I said that the Heat would win if they played really good team basketball and limited the damage from all the role players that weren't LeBron and AD. And I said that the Lakers win if the people that weren't LeBron and AD got involved and played well. Because, LeBron and AD are going to do LeBron and AD things. And they were just hitting every shot they took. Like, all the role players, no matter who it was, everyone was just on fire. Like Kyle Kuzma, Danny Green.
I mean, Kyle Kuzma looked half decent, I remember. He didn't do too terribly much. Danny Green, he can't shoot from the corners anymore. Yeah. He can't shoot from the corner. Like, the dude was like 0 for 4 from the corners, but 4 for 5 from the wings.
Yeah, everywhere.
It was ridiculous.
But anyway, my point being, they didn't do enough to stop those people that once LeBron and AD tried to take over or decided to take over, not even tried to, they did. Once they decided to, it was already too far gone.
I'm breaking out my
your broom.
My broom. I don't know what that motion was.
It's too early for this.
I think injuries. If those players are injured and they're gonna miss the games, I think it's a sweep.
I just wanted to say, I just turned on to check the Thursday night football game. The Jets are up 7-0.
3-0.
7-0.
7-0.
Sam Darnold had a 46-yard touchdown run, and it is the Jets' first lead of the season.
Spectacular start, boys.
Sam Darnold, Jets quarterback of the future.
Not Trevor Lawrence, maybe.
But, yeah, basically, The Lakers looked really good last night. I don't think the series is over at all because if you looked at Jimmy Butler on the bench and if they're like he said, he literally just went, all right, which means that he's going to come back like even more ready to just try and kill next game, and he's going to have his guys hyped up and whatnot.
Oh my God,
Tyler, you're making that face before we wrap up the show. Do you want to tell us what?
I was just watching the replay of the Sam Darnold touchdown run. He broke a sack and then like shook someone out of their boots and like broke someone's ankles and then ran 46.
Joe Flacco's a Jet.
Yeah, he's the backup quarterback.
I didn't know that.
All right, well, unless you guys have anything, I think that's it.
Jets, Jets.
Oh my gosh, get out of here. Well, this was what episode are we on? 6 of the Super Sports Flash podcast. I'm Joe Will.
I'm Tyler Shibish.
And I'm Matt Nash.
Take it easy.